America would like to think that it has progressed as an accepting society when in fact it has stayed stagnant on certain views, such as social equality. America prides itself on equality. So if this is true, why does the wage gap still exist? This presentation will affect almost everybody listening to it. The wage gap doesn't only exist between men and women, but between different races and people of the LGBTQ community. So whether you're black, gay, Hispanic, or woman, you may be facing this unconstitutional act reformed by many employers. I'm a Hispanic person with a black Hispanic father and a white mother. I don't want this wage gap to exist when I enter the work field because then it would be affecting me personally. I think it's time to stop judging people based on gender, race, and sexual orientation and just judge them based on their work skills and seeing them as an equal. The wage gap in the work field is alive and well. The wage gap isn't only alive between men and women, it's also seen among races and people of different sexual orientation. The first thing I will be talking about is the wage gap between men and women. According to a study done by Glassdoor.com, in certain fields, women earn about 95% of what a man makes. These fields are fields such as the medical field and the law field. The reason for this is that women accept less pay to have a more flexible schedule so they can spend more time with their family, children, or just simply have more vacation time. The occupation that has had the least progress in closing the wage gap is construction. Construction hasn't made any progress in the last 40 years in closing the wage gap. And I think that's a major bump in the road if we want to get this thing closed. Women have been facing the wage gap since the end of World War II. From the end of World War II to about 1963, women were earning 60 cents to every $1 that a white male makes. In 1963, John F. Kennedy passed the Equal Pay Act, which made it illegal for employers to pay less based on sex. Although this act was passed, women were still making less than men, and the wage gap still exists even today. From 1963 to today, the wage gap has been closing about half a penny each year. If the wage gap continues to close this slowly, the wage gap won't close until about 2059. The wage gap isn't only visible between men and women, it is also visible between races. I will first talk about the racial wage gap between women. According to a report done by the American Association of University Women, African American, Hispanic, Native American, and Native Hawaiian women have a less annual median earning than white women and Asian American women. This isn't because white women or Asian women are more educated than a black woman. This is blatantly just because of discrimination. The largest racial wage gap between women is that of between the Hispanics and white women. Hispanic women earn about 54 cents to every white man's $1, while white women earn about 78 cents. I will now continue talking about the racial wage gap between men. According to NBC News, Asian American men earn the highest median hourly wage of all races, making $24 an hour. White men make about $21 an hour, black men $15 an hour, and Hispanic men $14 an hour. CNN performed a study having two people being interviewed, one with a white sounding name, one with a black sounding name. They each have the same education and same qualifications. The person with the white sounding name got called back from every interviewer, while the person with the black sounding name didn't receive any calls. This is a huge red flag, and I think that is unacceptable, and it's a huge sign of discrimination and of racism. After hearing everything in this presentation so far, you may think, oh, the wage gap doesn't only exist between men and women, it also exists between race. Well, that's not it. The wage gap also exists in the LGBTQ community. Now I ask you, is the LGBTQ community protected by any equal pay acts? Well, according to AmericanProgress.org, they are. But these laws aren't very strong, and employers tend to look past them, and they don't pay much attention to them. A study shows that gay and bisexual men earn about 10 to 32% less than a heterosexual man. But this isn't the same for lesbian and bisexual women. as they earn just as much or even more than their heterosexual counterpart. Now I ask you, does the education play a big role in the wage gap in the LGBTQT community? Well, comparing heterosexual men and gay men are twice more likely to get a bachelor's degree. So why is there a wage gap? Well, one reason is that because gay men are likely to accept a job atypical to their gender, and these jobs usually pay less. This isn't the main reason why the wage gap exists in this community, though. The main reason is because discrimination. And once again, according to AmericanProgress.org, people are working on more profound laws to protect this community from being discriminated and protecting them to get equal pay. All points that I mentioned throughout this presentation are connected by one thing, and that is discrimination. It's time for people to start seeing people as equal and judging them based on their work skills and qualifications rather than their race or gender. The wage gap is still a problem in our society when it really shouldn't be. The wage gap doesn't only exist between men and women, it also exists among races and between heterosexual people and people of the LGBTQT community. The most known wage gap is the wage gap between men and women. Well, I'm here to inform you that there are more, like the wage gap among races and the wage gap in the LGBTQT community. And I just find it hard to believe that in 2016 we can have a woman run for president, but we can't have a woman in certain fields of work earn just as much as a man or even more.